for 8,000, which I believe we were 8,595, so we're right over the threshold. Shall establish the fund. So I just wanted to provide that information to you as it's updated, and we will need to make sure that we get that fund included and seated as well. And with that, the 15th is our hearing and decision-making time, hopefully. The budget and ad valorem tax hearing will be there as well. Possible continuance dates, if the 15th isn't going to work, would be December 6th or the 20th. Oh, we do have to do the ad valorem on the 15th to have the certification to the county by the 30th, though. So that will need to have action next week.
So I have a question for you about this RCW, because what I'm seeing here is this is an establishment of a rental fund, not necessarily a replacement fund.
They refer to it as a rental fund.
Correct. Because some
That's what it
cities
is.
charge a rental rate to replace the vehicles that they're using through like the motor pool fund, and
Oh, okay.
through that fashion
It says
is how it's.
they'll acquire the equipment, so.
Right, we're introducing not only seeding this fund, but we're operationally beginning to send money into it from the general fund. And when we finish working on that completely,
Mhm.
each department will begin to pay every year into the fund. It's really the rent that they're paying into it.
Correct.
Okay. So you're saying-
And there are a lot of other jurisdictions, if you look into their budget, actually has that term in there to where,
Mhm.
just like renting a car every day when you go on vacation, rents that vehicle every single day, 365 for some period of money.
Okay.
And I think one point to make too is depreciation is built into that rate.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So just to summarize, before we move on to, if we can, Mayor, to the human resources and the fire and updates discussions, what will be before you next week, and what we'll be having hearings on, there is, I think it's 3 ordinances for the rates, 3 separate ordinances, 1 hearing. Right, so I think ordinances like initiatives need to be single purpose. So we will recommend to you that you conduct a single hearing for the family of water, sewer, and stormwater rate increases that are proposed. But then you'll need to consider each of those separately in their own separate ordinance. So that would be the rates, and we anticipate that being first among the hearings on the 15th, because other things kind of flow from that. After that, we would anticipate that you have a hearing on your budget and the ad valorem tax all at the same time.
Included with the 3 rates would be the 4th for the utility tax.
Oh, right, thank you. The tax that we'll tax ourselves as a utility with to be in compliance, that would be part of your hearing as well. That's a 4th ordinance. We listed that as finance because it, then we do the budget, and with the budget, there's the actual ordinance that adopts the budget. There's potentially a resolution for the ad valorem taxes. There's still some possibility, we're working with the county, that because we're capped at our statutory limit and it's not going up, that all you have to do is send your certification in, which is an administrative function. You don't have to set your levy.
We would still do the 1% banking for the future capacity, levy capacity.
So
But
that-
for the EMS, that was just the new EMS levy that was just approved, we most likely do not have to do a resolution for that.
So there'll be quite a few ordinances and resolutions in this family of rates and the budget. So we'll try to walk through those next week in an orderly fashion for you.
So Jennifer, is that why on the property tax resolution, we have in there the wording that by adopting this resolution, the city's tax rate will increase by 1%. It's property tax to preserve the maximum levy capacity for 2013.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So we're banking the future capacity. It doesn't mean that you have to do that in the future. It's just preserving the right to have it available to the council at that point.
So, maybe I'm missing something here, but we're calling it a 1% increase just to bank it?
Correct.
But we can't, we're not actually increasing the amount.
No.
that's
Correct.
coming in.
Nor can we.
Yeah.
We
Right.
can't, because we're capped at the,
Right. But when the current levies expire in 13, there's statutory language about what you revert to, short of any specific action. And we believe that you should have as many options available to you as possible at that time. And so each year, you either increase if you have the ability to and you chose to, or you bank it as if it had gone up in its banking capacity, so that as if there were 1% increases, and then your levy would be potentially at a higher rate in 13 and got at least some inflationary help along the way. But you would not be bound by that at all. So it's an option for the future. And it's really the first time that this community probably ever had to do a resolution like this.
Mhm.
It's different than your normal banking, where you can bank where you can, yeah, we could raise the rate if we want to, we choose not to. You can bank that.
Yeah, we've done that.
That's one context. Many communities do that. This context is you can't raise the rate, but what happens 5 years from now, or 3 years from now, is affected by what you do with that 1%. Which is still clear as mud for me too. So.
Any questions on the ad valorem tax portion of what you're being asked to do on Monday? That one's a pretty simple one. Any questions from council members in regards to the budget itself?
I guess I'd have to kind of review the updated document that we've got here, so.
We should clarify that. The only changes, material changes, I should use the word material. The only material changes in here compared to what you already have are what we described on the slide. So we reduced the ticket revenue by $40,000. We reduced police salaries and benefits by 200. We increased their overtime by 10. We backed out 15,000 of a capital improvement, operational capital in public works, because we're going to do it this year. And we distributed some of the, we had missed the storm fund in terms of having the storm fund pick up a little bit of our public works administrative team. That was about 20,000. So that would be filtered throughout multiple line items. You really have to hunt to find that 20. It's not in a line item. So other than that, though, the budget, it really is the same document. So short of those things, if you'd made notes and had reviewed the previous one, you could continue to use that. But this is now the formal one because it reflects those changes. But all the other highlights to the budget that we discussed on the 25th, and you have that PowerPoint presentation, all the investments that are being proposed, all the reductions that we discussed are all still there. The only difference is what we discussed this afternoon.
Just for a point of precision, I guess, would it be possible, or is there any reason, so for example, when it says by adopting this resolution, the city's tax rate will increase by 1%, and then a lot of times financially, they'll have the word 1% spelled out, because I know in the past, we've had a couple of typos in some of our numbering, which, even though we kind of, I mean, there were times when I actually looked right over the top of that incorrect number, but if it had the number